Munoz, Ogden, Pace, Thomas, Jones, some of the greatest offensive tackles in NFL history. And what's crazy is how many of these guys were already becoming stars before they even turned 25. The NFL has found young superstar tackles before, but the crazy part is finding two of them. Two young tackles on the same team, developing at the same time, who could potentially lock down both sides of the offensive line for years. And that's why what the Jets have right now is something that NFL teams almost never get. They have stumbled into one of the rarest things in the NFL, two potential franchise tackles under the age of 25. You see, a great tackle isn't just another good starter. They're enormously valuable because they're protecting the quarterback's blind side. They're blocking elite pass rushers who are getting more and more freakish in their athleticism. They're expensive in free agency, they're difficult to replace, and a truly elite tackle doesn't just hit the open market, they completely change your franchise. Anthony Munoz, Jonathan Ogden, Orlando Pace, Walter Jones, Joe Thomas. Some of these are among the top 5 tackles of all time. The point isn't look at how many great tackles there have been throughout NFL history. Actually, it's the opposite. Look at how special it is when your team actually finds one. Because finding a franchise left tackle is a rare thing. It doesn't happen all that often. Finding a franchise right tackle oftentimes is even rarer. And what are the odds of finding both and developing both at the same time? Well, those are astronomical odds.
With the 11th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Olu Fashanu, tackle, Penn State.
Because with Olu, if the Jets had only found him, this would already be a really good situation. Fashanu was one of the premier tackle prospects in the 2024 draft, and the traits that made him so highly regarded haven't disappeared. He's 6'6", he's got the length, the athleticism, the foot speed, and most importantly, he has the movement skills you want from a modern left tackle. And you can see it all on film. Watch his feet. He doesn't panic. He doesn't have to win every rep with power. He can square, mirror the rusher, absorb the contact, and recover when things don't go perfectly. That's what makes him so intriguing. Because at left tackle, you're not asking, can this guy make highlight block after highlight block? No, you're asking, can he really survive 600 pass rushing snaps against some of the best athletes in the world? And Fashanu has the physical profile to do exactly that. His biggest questions coming out of Penn State were never really about whether he could move or his size. They were about consistency, hand placement, leverage, and whether he could develop enough power and refinement in the run game to become a complete tackle. Those were legitimate concerns in his scouting reports. But that's also why his trajectory is so interesting. Because if those things continue to improve the way they already have, with the athletic foundation remaining intact, we're not looking at just another starting tackle. We're talking about the possibility of a franchise left tackle. And those guys are incredibly difficult to find, which is why drafting Fashanu in the first place was a big deal and a big win for the New York Jets. But here's where the story gets even more interesting, because the Jets didn't just stop there.
This pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Arman Membu.
What up, Coach?
What up? Just like we talked about. Just be mean, nasty, and go be a... Don't do that.
It wasn't all that big of a surprise when the Jets took Arman Membu 7th overall in the 2025 draft. In the draft process, in the lead up, it started to become clearer and clearer that this was their guy. This was the best fit for the Jets. And immediately, we could all see why the Jets loved him. Membu isn't built like Fashanu. Fashanu is the long, fluid prototype left tackle, and Membu is different. He's compact, explosive, ridiculously athletic for a man his size. And when he gets his hands on you, you move. That was one of the things that stood out about Membu coming out of Missouri. He was an extremely accomplished run blocker with the power, footwork, and movement skills to consistently create displacement. His athleticism also made him a natural fit for a zone-heavy rushing attack. But there were questions. Could a 6'3" tackle with 33.5-inch arms consistently hold up on the edge in the NFL? Could he deal with elite speed? Could his technique catch up to his physical ability? And then he got to New York and he started answering every single one of those questions. He started every single game as a rookie, and he didn't just look like a guy who was surviving out there and making his way through his rookie season. No, there were stretches when he looked like one of the best players on the entire offensive line. He flashed and stood out. And that's the part that gets me and all other Jets fans excited, because rookie tackles are supposed to look like rookies. They're supposed to have reps where they get beat. They're supposed to have technical problems. They're supposed to be learning how fast the NFL edge rushers can actually get to the quarterback. Now, Membu still has things to clean up. His hand placement can get inconsistent in times, and his leverage can rise. Because he isn't especially a long tackle, there will always be situations where his technique has to compensate for that lack of length. Those were real concerns in his pre-draft process. But then you watch him move. You watch the power. You watch the recovery. You watch a 330-pound offensive tackle get out in space and move like he does. And you start thinking, wait a minute. Maybe the Jets didn't just find a starting right tackle. Maybe they found a star in the making. And that's when this becomes really interesting, because now look at what the Jets actually have. Olu Fashanu, 23 years old. Arman Membu, 22 years old. They're both growing into their adult bodies, and they came into training camp, both of them looking different, bigger, faster, stronger. Arman Membu has been the talk of camp. Once pads went on, things got crazy. And this is where the situation becomes unusual and rare for the New York Jets, because finding a 22-year-old tackle with star potential is hard. Finding a 23-year-old left tackle with franchise potential, that's hard. Having both of them on the same roster, pushing each other, growing together with the mentality and the heart and the work ethic that they have, that's the dream. I mean, there's been tackle after tackle that have shown up on teams that have shown to be that guy, have shown to be that star again and again and again and again, but there's only ever one. There's only ever one, and sometimes you get lucky as a team and you draft one in to go with a veteran who's already done it, who's already shown that they can be that guy. Look at the Eagles, for example, but that isn't what the Jets have. The Jets have two young guys under the age of 25 who both have this potential and trajectory to be the franchise tackle at each end. And this could actually change the entire franchise. This could change the entire trajectory of the New York Jets. No longer just the laughingstock, no longer the butt of every single joke that the national media has to throw. Instead, this team with these tackles has a chance to do something and be something that we have not seen in a very, very long time. They have a chance to solidify an offensive line as the Jets look to rebound and bring in a new quarterback. You potentially have the bookends, and that means you can spend draft capital and money elsewhere. This is where you can start bringing in a quarterback to play in this safe pocket. This is where you can then build some of those skill position players and build up that defense. And that's why they could take a chance on players like Kenyon Sadiq in the first round to get his athletic ability onto this offense. That's why they can go out and spend a draft pick on Omar Cooper Jr. and add him to this offense to pair with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Because the reality is, Fashanu and Membu are not the finish line, they're the foundation. The biggest question isn't if the Jets have found something special. It's whether they're going to actually be able to build around it or not.